All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the February edition of the DuPage ROSC Council. Burton, and I am your DuPage ROSC coordinator. Guess what else? I'm also a person in long-term recovery from substance use, and I'm a person living with depression and anxiety challenges. I think it's important to mention those things when we can. It goes to show, that we have a chance to reduce stigma by talking about this type of thing, which we'll be talking more about stigma a little bit later today. So, if we could start by asking everyone to please make sure that we are muted unless it is time for sharing or Q&A. And if you wouldn't mind putting your name and contact info into the chat, that would be great. As the start, I would like to ask, is there anybody here at the DuPage ROSC or ROSC meeting for the very first time ever? Both in person, I'm looking around, you've all been to one. How about online? Is there anybody online who has never been to a ROSC meeting before ever? If you want, you can raise your tiny digital hand or you can just come off mute and say hi. But as I'm
Hi.
looking through, oh, we got a high. Oh, I got a couple highs. All right, Linda, you want to go first?
Sure. Linda Wingrove, Area 10 and 11 Task Supervisor here in Joliet. We cover DuPage. Will, you might remember Camille Caldero, who used to
Yeah,
attend. And it's me now. So nice to
excellent.
meet you all.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have new folks here, so glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
I thought I saw a digital hand, then it went back down. But if you want to introduce yourself, sorry with the J.
Hi, I'm
Yeah,
Josette. I'm in the CRSS program in Bruce's class.
excellent. Well, we're glad to have any of Bruce's CRSS students here. Anyone else on the digital side? Well, all right. We'll go ahead and get started. We love new folks. If this type of meeting seems like it could be something that would be helpful for you, oh, and I got Melissa raising her hand too. We'll get to that in 1 second. If you think this would be a meeting or an organization or program that people in your community could benefit from, always invite them. This is always open, and we always love newcomers. Melissa, I see your hand is raised. Sorry about that. Melissa? Okay, well, I did see a hand up, just so I'm not hallucinating that. We'll get back to you if we need to. Was there anybody here in person for the very first time? You know what, Kelsey, I'm going to talk to you in just a bit because I've got some visuals I'm going to use with you. Does anyone else have a cat as the main icon on their screen, or is that just the way I have it set up right now? All right. That's a very, very cute cat, I will say. Okay, so we have all the newcomers, which is awesome, but we've not had a chance to do the icebreaker question. Now, this is going to be a very positive icebreaker question, and I was thinking about this today because we got a little bit of sunlight this week. Like it was, it's not obviously warm yet by any means, but we got a little vitamin D through the sunlight, and it had me thinking kind of towards the spring and summer and taking like trips somewhere. So I would like to know right now if you have something planned, like a trip or vacation for the spring or the summer, that you would like to fill us in on. And I will go ahead and start. Some of you have talked to me about this crazy idea I have where I'm walking across northern Illinois. That's still going to happen. It has been broken down into 3 or 4 day chunks, usually about 30 to 40 mile chunks across those days. And the first one kicks off in the last week of April. So you'll be sick of hearing about it by the time I get to it. All right, so that's my trip for the spring and summer. Who wants to tell me another one, either here in person or online? Like I said, you can come up mute, raise your hand, or and that's got the Price is Right microphone she's gonna bring around. If you tell me everyone in this room is not taking a vacation, that's crazy because I know you're all going somewhere.
I'm going somewhere where you can see the stars at night. It's not far from Mackinac Island. My wife found it. She was raised in the suburbs where you could see the stars, and
Oh wow,
I was raised in the city where the stars were the Chicago skyline. So
yeah,
we've been trying to find stars in the sky for a long time. So we're going to spend a week trying to find the stars out there.
amazing, amazing. Well, that sounds great. Who else has got one? Well, so we got work trips. I don't know if we'll count work trips. Okay,
I'll share.
Mariana. I see you,
I'll
Mariana.
share. Yes. My kids request an annual ski trip. So this time we're doing Colorado. So I'm excited
Wow.
about nature and I'm not a great skier, but I just take the green slope and I'll just enjoy the views. So I'm excited about that.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Mariana. And actually, we're going to talk about Mariana in just a little bit, just a little sneak preview. I don't want to put her on the spot, but yeah. All right. Anybody else? Hey, Judy. We still got people coming in. Forgive me. Going once, going twice. Okay, Magdalena.
Hey there, I'll just real quick. No particular plans. I know that me and my daughter can't wait for the days and transportation days and pool days. And I just can't wait to get back in the water. That's what we do all summer long. Just look for a place where we can go hang out by the pool and get wet.
Amazing. We the little bit of that was breaking up on our end, but the last part of it sounded amazing because it sounded like a pool. So yeah, that's a great vacation anytime I could be around a pool. Anyone else? All right. Well, listen, you guys all sound like you're taking some amazing trips. If there's one you forgot to tell us about, you can raise your hand and let me know later, and we'll talk to you. Let's pull up some things to share at the beginning. Kind of go over today's agenda, go over some upcoming, promotions and programs and things like that, and then we'll get into kind of the meat of today's meeting. So, we are right about number 2 right here. I'm going to talk to our newest Impact Recovery Corps project coordinator, Kelsey, in just a little bit. You met Nini before, and now we actually have our second, Kelsey, who's with us. So we'll get a chance to talk to her for a little bit. Our awesome Kane County ROSC coordinator, Annette Villarreal, will talk about all of the cool stuff that they're doing in in our neighboring Kane County, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening out there. Our wonderful DuPage County Coroner, Judith Lukas, who has been so gracious enough to host us here. Please, round of applause for the coroner's office. Not only is it very gracious of you to host us, we're thrilled to be out here, but I just love it that we have a great relationship with the coroner's office. You've been coming to our meetings for better part of half a year or more. We sit on a board together, and I feel like there's been some great synergy so far, and we just love to keep that going. So thank you again, and we'll get a chance to talk to you here in just a little bit. So thank you again. And then we're going to talk kind of towards the end about some of the results that came back from the DuPage ROSC 2026 community survey, because there were some pretty interesting results that came back from that, and that'll help us to kind of steer the ROSC in some direction. So that'll be really important to go about. And then at the end, some organizational updates. So let's just go over a few things to promote here at the beginning before we get into some of the meat of today. Did anybody go to game night before? Me? Okay. Mark, you went? Okay, so DuPage ROSC and Serenity House has done these game nights over the past 3 or 4 years. They are so much fun. I'm not just saying that because I'm there. But we host it in Serenity House's big hall, which holds quite a few people. We have like the big screens on the wall, but we also bring in separate TVs. I think we put like 4 or 5 video game stations in. There's board games. I know Uno gets especially heated on those nights. And there's also usually a trophy for the best video gamer of the evening. I try to give it to a kid when I can, but you know how that goes. So come on out Saturday, February 28th, from 6 to 9 p.m. over at Serenity House. Bring your friends, bring your family. This is a super, super great family event. Really, really good time. So come out and see us. Very, very important DuPage ROSC presentation series event next week. If you're unfamiliar with our presentation series stuff, it's a chance separate from this meeting to get a chance to dig into a topic a little bit more. Here, when we cover a topic, it's for like maybe 15 minutes, which gives us a good overview, but not enough time to really dig deep. That's what this is. So our friends from Family Shelter Service are going to be talking about DV, Domestic Violence 101. Different types of DV, how to spot it, and what to do about them. This is one of those areas that when ROSC started was a blind spot for me personally, and so I had to make the effort to learn a lot of this stuff. And what I learned is what most of you know, that there's a huge intersection with domestic violence, mental health, and substance use. And it's starting to become more and more like a circle at times. So really important to learn this stuff, and Family Shelter Service does it really well. So if you or someone you know just kind of wants like the primer on what DV is, like how to spot stuff, this would be great to show them. And we will record these and have these to watch back later. If you're interested in doing one of our presentation series events, they're open to the public. Like if you have a topic you're passionate about, we would love to have you. I think the one after this will be about ADHD meds and productivity culture. But after that, we're looking to book some more. So come out for that one. Here's another cool thing. We've talked about doing something similar to this for about a year now. The Serenity House peer support workers, the DuPage ROSC people, have been going into the DuPage and King County jails. And actually, you can talk a little bit about this too. We've been going into the jails for about the last 4 years to teach classes, everything from reentry for criminal and addictive thinking to anger management to heroin anonymous to, we'll talk about a couple others here. But one of the things that we found when we were going in and doing these classes is that there's a lot of anxiety around our friends in there who are getting released or who know they're getting released, in the next few months. There's anxiety around, finding a job. There's anxiety around living under supervision. Maybe that's probation, maybe that's parole, whatever it is. What is some of the anxieties that people talk to you about when you're in the jail, Annette?
So when I go in to the jails, we talk about several things. We're mainly focusing on anger management and coping skills, but when we do talk on those topics, a lot of the subjects that come up is what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
Like when I get out of here, where can I find some help? If I want to stop drinking, sometimes they'll relate like their anger to their drinking or some other issues that have gotten them incarcerated due to like some type of mental health. So we try to guide them and let them know that, there are support services out in the community. They have to just seek them and ask for them. So, some, again, like you said, it's a lot of anxiety and it's more, it's even a bigger anxiety trying to reintegrate into the community. So now that we're going to start hosting these meetings in King County. It's exciting that there'll be having services out there.
Well, and the other thing too is a lot of them didn't necessarily want a specific recovery program. Like we would give them resources for 12-step or SMART or Refuge, and that wasn't even necessarily what they were looking for. What they were looking for was fellowship. They were looking for people who were also formerly incarcerated or were justice involved, and just a chance to get together again as a group and just kind of have that support with you. Is huge. And they've been looking for something like that. And so, Walter, who's been doing a lot of our work in Kane County through the Kane County grant, will be doing this starting in March. Kickoff is going to be on March 12th. The idea is to go every Thursday eventually, but the kickoff will be on March 12th. We have a lot of services out there. We've got all the peer support services that Serenity House does, but also, like we said, like resume building, interview prep, job application assistance. We've got like nice clothes there. Like if you need like some interview clothes, or if you just need some support before you go to a job interview, that's what we want to make that there for. So yeah, Linda, I see your hand up. Did you have a question or comment about this one?
Yes, I did. Thank you. You said that you are in the DuPage County Jail.
Yes.
So we do a lot of work. We do a lot of assessments, and I'd like to start referring the incarcerated clients to your group.
Yes.
Can you send me, or well, I guess the first question, I have two parts. First question
Yes.
is, how does the incarcerated person make the request to go to the group? And secondly, when does it meet?
So the groups are completely open. There doesn't necessarily need to be a request. If they would like to check in with our I mentioned earlier, my coach who's running the classes, they can. But this is going to be at the Serenity House office location in Geneva. So it is a private location. So if people are worried about anonymity or things like that, it's not an issue. And the first kickoff is on March 12th, 2026. Obviously 2026, from 6 to 8 p.m. And like I said, at that first one, it'll probably get a good feel for kind of what the demand is. And then also, it's nice to connect them with peer support workers too. So we hope to have kind of like a little rotating cast of characters out there with these guys while they're out there. Did I answer your questions on that one?
Well, actually, you had said that you do some programming inside the DuPage County Jail, or no?
So that's yeah. So we go in, and we can talk more offline too. But yeah, we've gone in via the Just Volunteer program since 2021. So yeah, we've been doing, like I said, reentry for criminal addicted thinking, heroin anonymous. We've done grief and loss. We've done anger management, understanding addictions, and this is actually outside of the recovery pod. because there was such a spillover need outside of people who couldn't get into the drug court or recovery pod programs. So that's kind of where we've been focusing our efforts.
Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Then we can chat offline too about how to connect your guys or gals, whatever they need. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else in that on the jail stuff that we wanted to mention, or?
Well, at our next King County
Oh, and we're gonna get
ROSC
there in
meeting,
just a second.
yeah,
Yeah.
we will have Walter, and he will be highlighting exactly this fellowship program. So tune into our meeting next
Let's talk about
Thursday,
that for a second. Where are
February
we
the
gonna be?
19th. Well, we will be at the beautiful Town and Country Library in Elburn, Illinois.
Let's hear for Elburn, everybody.
Woo. So please join us at the Mary Lyon Amos Educational Center meeting room. And it's just keep in mind that because it is a little farther than what we normally go, we did change the time. So it's going to be from 2 to 3, and there will be a virtual option.
Yeah. And the reason too that we're picking places like Elburn, and then later in a couple months or a month we'll be in Sugar Grove. For far too long sometimes our areas geographically don't get as much attention, so we're trying to get on the kind of outskirts too. So stay tuned. We'll be on tour all year. Let's talk about one other thing, and then I'm going to talk to Kelsey real quick. Yeah, so Kelsey, come on up. Time to embarrass you for a little bit. So the reason I'm going to talk to Kelsey is because she and my other wonderful AMPAC project coordinator, Nini, have been really spearheading what's up on the screen now. Okay, so if you were unaware, Serenity House has a mobile outreach unit, which provides both harm reduction services, but also unhoused outreach. We are in Aurora, and we are in Elgin a couple days a week, soon to be more. And there's going to be a lot of work coming up in DuPage and similar areas. So one of the biggest things that the van has been able to provide is winter clothing. I don't have to tell y'all, this has been a particularly brutal winter. The people who are, we call our friends who've been outside, have had to struggle through a lot of it. And through our donation programs, which is both the van programs, but also the drop-in that Annette helps oversee in the Geneva location, we've given out around 200 winter coats, untold socks, sweaters, hats, gloves. The only reason we were able to do that was because of how many donations y'all have been able to provide and help us out with. And so I just want to round of applause for everybody who's been donating this year. I mean, it's truly, truly been amazing to see. Having said that, we're going to try and finish strong. We've got some great donations that we're picking up this week, but we're always looking for more. So that's why I kind of put this up on the screen for a bit. Now, Kelsey, who has come on board, has helped with some of this. So Kelsey, real quick, I'm going to do the nice to meet you, everybody. So Kelsey, how did you come to, I guess, this work or DuPage ROSC? How did you get here?
First of all, I want to say I'm really grateful to be here. It's an honor and a blessing. Thank you, Jarrett. Thank you, Annette, for, letting me tag along. Yes, this is my first time. A little nervous. So basically I am hired on from AMPAC. I work at Serenity House, and we've been collecting donations since I started. So it's been 1 month since I've been at Serenity House. I'm very grateful. We've collected so much, and it's so beautiful to see how many people have come together to flood us with donations. And I say flood because literally we have so much that our van does not go without. Just tons of socks, tons of sweaters, jackets, tops and bottoms, shoes, purses, toiletries, little kits put together with soap and a comb and to shave. It's just so beautiful that I get to be a part of it, and I get to witness it. I get to organize it. I get to stock the van with everything we need. And I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to many, many more donations and different things we're doing.
So what do you think? Because you were definitely somebody who's tried to soak up as much info. You like to shadow a lot. You like to ask a lot of questions, which is a good thing, though. What is some of the your favorite stuff you've been able to shadow or see or take part in so far since you've been here?
Honestly, everything. And I say everything because as soon as I walk to work, or walk in the door at work, the greeting I get from my fellow colleagues is just so welcoming, and I'm just like wanting to jump in and help wherever I can. I have about 10 years in recovery now.
Woo.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to give back to what was so freely given to me, clothes, toiletries, and harm reduction supplies, and finding out more how I can be involved in the community and make a difference. And it's just like truly rewarding. I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be a part of it.
Fantastic. And I also want to say just real quick, there's some people on this call too who have been like instrumental in helping us get donations. Bruce Seawick helped us through the Awakenings group over at College of DuPage to get a box in there. Same thing with Elgin Community College and a few others too. So, hugely important. Glad to be on board with that. Really, really excited. So we are going to thank you again, Kelsey.
Thank you.
And we are going to talk to Judith Lukas very shortly, just about 2 minutes. I want to show a short video because today is a very, very exciting day. Today is a launch day for something. I'm going to stop share for just a second. I'm going to make sure I have it set over here. Okay. So actually, Scott Kaufman, will you talk to me for just a second on the mic? Yes. Where's the other mic? I won't put you on the spot for too long, but it'll be good to kind of set up, right? Let's set it up. Blue light on. Scott Kaufman, Community Initiative Coordinator.
Yes.
Oh, and 2025 Community Champion.
Jared.
So why don't we talk about the impetus for this video we're about to watch? What are we about to watch, and kind of where do we come up with some of this stuff?
Oh, I know that we talked a bit about this at our last meeting, but for those of you that either can't remember back a month or weren't able to attend, the Behavioral Health Collaborative is a substance use subcommittee that we were kind of running against a wall trying to figure out what can be done about sober housing. We did some research, found that it confirmed what we kind of already knew, but wanted confirmation on that it is both extremely vital, it is very lacking for like there isn't enough of it in DuPage County, and it is incredibly hard to establish if an organization wants to do it.
Yeah.
That group of about a dozen people weren't able to like parlay that research into immediate action, but we did sort of settle on something that Jarrett identified, which was people really have a unnecessary vitriol towards the concept of sober. This is endemic throughout society. This isn't just DuPage, but certainly exists here in DuPage. And so to sort of take that temperature down, make people understand who it is they're participates in sober living, who lives there, what do the facilities. We decided to go with an interview series to share those stories and get the word out.
Yeah, and we actually have, I think, almost everybody who participated, at least in some of the different houses. Brianna from Oxford House, who did a great job. And our friend Mariana from Evergreen, and that is actually who was in the very first inaugural video. So when we were actually talking about this, she was somebody who immediately like came to mind because I won't give her whole history, but Mariana before this opened like came to ROSC meetings, and she was in school and she was trying to get plugged in, and she was somebody that like I loved her story and I just was rooting for her so hard. And here we are a couple years later. She's doing great. The house is doing great. I know we referred a bunch of women over there. And there's this whole other thing too about, the need for sober living for women, and she provides that over there for them. I'm going to stop talking and play this video, and then we may ask her for her take as we get towards the end. So if you're looking for these, hang on, let me pause it. These are going to be on the DuPage County Health Department's Facebook page, but share it far and wide. That's the idea, right? We want to educate and we want to reduce stigma. So feel free, share these, and I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go like this, and we're going to listen.
So when I started considering opening a sober living home, I started doing some research, and I found there was a need to open a sober living home for women, especially because of vulnerability, the safety, and community of women on their journeys to help them recover. I believe because women are natural caretakers is that they're expected to be present for their families. What I found interesting as well is that women would go through treatment, which is approximately a 28-day program, and they would go back home to be with their families. And the essential step between rehab and independent living is sober living, that is helping them transition from addiction to their life they want to live for the rest of life, for their recovery. So when women come in, I try to make it as comfortable for them as much as I can. Women here, cook together, bake together, go to meetings together. But for me, I think the full circle happened when one of our residents had made a successful transition and went to live on her own and is wanting to become an addiction counselor herself.
Everybody give a big hand for Mariana.
Can I have your autograph, Mariana?
I know. Mariana, I won't put you on the spot too much, but did you want to say anything, have any comments or about being in this campaign with us?
Yes, I am so deeply honored, and I cannot begin to thank you and Professor Seawick, as the two of you are kind of a foundation of me building Evergreen. That's where I started, and that's how it took off. It was tough at the beginning, but if it inspires anybody to do something like that, go for it. It is needed. It is hard, but rewarding. And I cannot emphasize enough how community has helped me recover and build Evergreen and sustain Evergreen. So I'm incredibly grateful. And Scott, thank you so much. And thank you, your team. Done an amazing job editing. So I am honored to be in your video.
Amazing. One more round of applause for Mariana. And Mariana, if somebody is looking for housing and they want to get in touch with you, can you put your info in the chat and then we can
Yes,
direct them your way?
absolutely. Yes, thank you.
All right. So thank you again.
You want mute, Jared?
I muted myself. Let's try that again. So I am now very, very glad to bring up our, I was going to say our guest, but we are their guests. They have been so gracious enough to host us here. And that is DuPage County Coroner Judith Lukas. Everybody, we'll give it a round of applause again that they can hear online
Thank you.
this time.
Thank you. And I'm honored to have all of you here.
Yeah.
So
And so quick question. So I think you and I first met maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more. Is it longer than that now?
could be.
And you started coming to our meetings and you were very interested in some of the stuff that we had seen and some of the stuff that you were probably seeing too, in the work you were doing here as coroner. And you've been almost at every meeting since then. And we've had a nice rapport where we sit on a board together. And I just love it that we're able to have these types of conversations.
I do too. Thank you. And may I make a comment on the sober thing?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Little personal story. I've lost family members to suicide, substance use, and I did lose a nephew to substance use, and it was over the pandemic. We got him into like a 30-day inpatient program, and after he came home, there were no support meetings in person because I said, "I'll go with you. I'll go with you every day." So he did attend some online meetings. And he was gone, I think, about a week to 10 days after he was discharged. If he had only a sober living place to go to, or any of the support meetings in person, I think he would be here today. So I cannot begin to tell you how important your work is. And there are so many miscommunications in the community. People that live in sober living function every day. They have jobs, they have families, they go on. They're not just, like finding a bed to lay their head on. They just need the support. And like I said, I have a lived experience who's someone that did not get that support and they're no longer here. So I have a personal connection. And actually, that's why one of the reasons I became a coroner, because I have lost a number of family members.
Thank you so much for
So,
sharing that with us. Thank you. I
so
mean, and I think
thank
that
you.
those, as sad and as crushing as those experiences can be, it does lead us to figure out the needs of the community through our own experiences, you know,
Right.
and I'm not the only person in here who's gone through sober living also, when I had nowhere else to go, sober living took me in.
Yeah.
When my friends who've gone through sober living, when they had nowhere else to go, sober living took them in. And I think the misconception is what you just said. It's not just a place where people lay their head and they're secretly using and they're throwing parties or any of the things that people tell me why they don't want sober living in their neighborhoods.
Right.
We're none of those things.
Right.
So thank you for understanding that and being such an ally for that.
Yeah.
It's huge. So thank you.
And you guys are phenomenal. I want to thank everybody for all the work that you do.
Well, thank you. So you kind of helped answer one of my first questions was, what about this work?
Right.
You answered that a little bit. But yeah, is there anything else you want to expand on with that?
Well, I can tell you about things that I see in my office. I'd like to do this like yearly here, but I think
Please, we would
maybe
love
move
to.
it back a little bit in
Yeah.
the spring because we still don't have all of the data from last year.
Yeah.
It could take 8 to 10 weeks for toxicology and autopsy reports. So I don't have this current year, but I've got the year before. I do see the trend going down compared to previous years.
Okay.
Of course, there's like a myriad of factors. I believe that maybe the Narcan availability and Narcan has
Yes.
helped people.
Yes.
I think last year we had a total of 77 deaths, and that was from both alcohol and drugs. And in the past, it's been higher than that. And so
Okay.
before when people were, revived, we had numbers because we knew how many people went to the emergency room, etc. But now with Narcan, people aren't really reporting that. So we don't really know how many lives are saved. But other than with the numbers going down, it's substantial. So this is from, again, not this past year that we closed, but from the year before. I'm happy to report that we had nobody that was under the age of 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a definite trend change
Yeah,
from
yeah.
previous years.
Exactly. Now, we've lost people from suicide, but I'm discussing substance use. And I'm just going to go, it looks like the greatest, and I think maybe some of the people are also aging out. In the 20s, we had 13 people, 30s, 13 people. In the 40s, there were 26. So
Yeah.
that was a really big group. But dropping down to the 50s, there were only 4 people. So I think sometimes you have different cohorts that like kind of age out and everything.
Yeah.
And then in the 60s, there was 19 people. In the 70s, 1 person.
Okay.
So, so I thought, well, that's, kind of interesting. I didn't break down both
Well,
men
so it's interesting too, because when we go and do our harm reduction presentations or train on Narcan, what we saw, and again, same thing, we kind of were waiting on this year's, but in the previous year we saw that the same thing you mentioned, the like kind of 18 to 30 had been going down, while at the
Right.
same time the 30 to 50 was going up, and they were almost crisscrossing each other. And one of the major questions that I would get at the trainings would be, well, why is that? And I would say, well, I'm only hypothesizing, but I said, look at some of around the time that this started to change was around the time of COVID. And so I said, I think there were quite a few people who were indoors for a long period of time who maybe had a latent problem or a pre-existing problem that was exacerbated by their mental health. And maybe that was pharmaceutical opioids that switched to something else. But, like we said, there's never one easy answer for why the demographics are shifting like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It would take, more of a long range
Right.
study.
But you
And,
mentioned like having more than one substance. So like polypharma, that was another thing. And a few of us are like on the OFR, the overdose fatality review. And that's a lot of it is polypharma. You know, we'll see 7, 8, 9 substances in somebody. Are you still seeing that quite a bit?
Yes, yes, we are. I would say again from the year before, we had just about everybody was polypharma.
Yeah.
And about 54% of those people had fentanyl in their system. About 42% had cocaine. 20% had Benadryl. So interesting.
So the Benadryl, at least in our experience, is usually as a cut. So they would cut that
Okay.
into opioids or opiates.
Okay.
So traditionally, that's what we've seen. But yeah, interesting to see that show up in
Yeah.
some of those,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then, there were, I don't know, 20% that had, it was a biomarker. It was metabolites of both cocaine and alcohol. But I would say most of them have been mixed drugs.
Have been mixed like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And let me see. I was looking at trying to figure out like the time of the year.
Yeah.
Now you would think that the holidays would be a lot, as far as like winter holiday, Christmas, etc. Again, the suicide rate might be higher, but I don't see it from the drug overdoses. And it looks like most of the substance use deaths are the 4th of July.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because in July we had 12 deaths, and I think about half of them were within the first week.
Wow.
And then if you look April, well, like May, there's 3,
Yeah.
June 4, and then all of a sudden we went up to 12 in July, and then August 4 and September 5.
Yeah. So 4th of July must have just been one of those. Yeah. When we see it too in sober living, is there's occasionally, some relapses and slips around the 4th. But yeah, that's interesting that there was those deaths around that time.
Yeah, I know when they're doing like say traffic stops and they're trying to look for impaired drivers, they will target the holidays, and 4th of July is one big one. So I thought that was pretty interesting that we had, a lot of substance use around there. And actually December I had 4, January 6. So they were lower.
Yeah.
So it's not even all winters seem like the numbers tend to be a little bit higher than in the summer, with the exception of July. I thought that was, and most people were accidental. We will only, rule suicide if there are clear indications. People have talked about that they want suicide, or they've left notes, or, sometimes people will have plans and they leave these are my banking information.
And actually, Bruce right here wrote, I wonder how many overdoses are suicides. So that kind of helps to answer that a little bit.
Yeah. So we had determined 9 were suicides. 2 were undetermined, that it possibly could have been suicide, possibly accidental. There were, when you have on the death certificate, if you state accidental or you state suicide, that's really hard to change. So if you put undetermined, that is a category that later on we can go back and change, like if more evidence would come back. So we do have 2 that are undetermined. Quite often undetermined remain undetermined, but then if anything would ever come out later on, that we are able to change those.
Got it.
So that's why we.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
So another question I had actually was, how does your office kind of collaborate with other agencies as far as like public health agencies? I mean, I know you and I have talked about, wanting to have more transparency between groups like ours and the government agencies. So how do you see that? How do you see your role as doing that?
So I work with a wonderful Scott Kaufman.
He's great, folks.
Yeah, I have to say, when I took this office, I actually had hoped to be progressed a little bit further. There are a lot of just internal issues that I've been working on in my first year. I just completed my first year.
Congratulations,
So
by the way.
thank you. So, so now I want to work more with community education and community outreach that I didn't have the availability to. I am a little envious because I have checked some of the coroners will actually update monthly statistics. And I'm like, how can you do that? So that it would be something that, down the road I'd like to, but with the caveat that the monthly aren't necessarily accurate, because if we do a toxicology in January, we may not get the results back for a few months, and then we're going to have to go back and change January. And so right now, when we do, post the numbers, we do it after we have all the results, and then nothing gets changed, so. So that is one of my goals. And like I said, that's going to be more of a floating number.
Of course.
You know,
Is there any other like lessons you've learned in the first year, or like things going into it you never thought you'd see or learn, or yeah, it's just something to take away from the first year.
well, maybe nothing that well, actually, yeah, it is, it's an interesting. So I had someone reach out for me, from NAMI, Jerry. And so I want to give her statistics. And she had asked a question. I thought, oh, this is good. She says, I would like to know, where do people die?
Oh.
So we'll be able to break that down. I don't know if that's anything the health department wants, but I'll be able to break it down. So not only we'll be able to do if they were outside, if they were in their own home, in a public place, in a friend's place, but even in the home, we will actually indicate that they were in the garage, or they were in the basement, and they were in the bathroom. So I think that could be an educational piece going forward.
That would be huge, I know, for not only the overdose fatality review teams, but also just like trends of like, yeah, where are people passing away?
Right.
That would be hugely helpful.
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of, I know for different, there's a lot of organizations that we'll give our information to, but they ask like how many have been witnessed by people under 18. And thankfully we don't have a lot. But that could be just another information. And that would be more for the psychosocial. And that's actually for any death.
Yeah.
But when Jerry had asked about where do they die, I thought, that's going to give us, I think, a lot of information that we don't know yet.
Yeah. One more question. And by the way, if anybody here or online has a question for our coroner, Judith Lukas, please feel free. Synthetics, right? So synthetics are something that we're dealing with. I've said this before. Sometimes the synthetic or unregulated substance, whatever you want to call it, feels like a game of whack-a-mole, because as soon as you figure one out, here comes the next one, and then here comes the next one. So how has that been like for you, getting used to that?
That is difficult. So out of the deaths we have, it's only the drugs that we have testing for, right?
Yeah,
we can test for a couple of hundred drugs, which include prescription medications as well, and so we did have one specific case that we're like, okay, there's still an open investigation, so I don't want to cover too much. But there was, we had reason to believe that there could have been some substances that were not would show up.
Okay.
So our pathologist had actually reached out to the forensic lab, and they had actually reached out to another lab, and they do like spectro.
Yeah, the spectrogram.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was they said a blurb showed up that it's not anything that it's a known drug, but it's kind of a little blurb that doesn't normally show up there. So unless, at the time, if there's drug paraphernalia, if there's any pills, powders that the law enforcement can collect and they can put it into, evidence, we can actually send that away for testing.
Okay.
So if it's something that isn't on their radar, that's something that we may be able to test it that way, and it may add to the database.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's frustrating too, at least this is anecdotal, but running into kind of like the novel or synthetics where they're not the thing that's causing the overdose, but it's contributing to it. So something like kratom or 7-0 or something that's not dropping people outright, but it is one of the bigger causes with the polypharma lineup like that and the toxicity.
Right.
I know Bruce asked a question, just kind of like, I think he wanted to ask a question about the folks who are suicides again. Is there a modality change as far as like trends or anything? Or are you still seeing the same kind of stuff?
It's still pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Any questions here in person?
Sure.
We're gonna give you the mic.
Deal with death every day. I'm sorry, it's going to be very personal.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
How do you deal with that you're going to die one day?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm a nurse. So when I look at death, I see it very, like reverently, it's the circle of life. So even when I was in the hospital, and if I would have patients pass, it's really hard because you get to know these people, and you part of you goes with them, and you're sometimes there with their family, and sometimes you're the only person there. So that that part is I'm okay with that because we are all good. No one's got an expiration date on us, right? I've looked before for patients. They've asked me, when am I going to die? And I'll take their arm. I'm like, well, I don't see an expiration date. So that part I'm okay with, but it's the tragedy, it's the tragic deaths and the preventable deaths. That's the hard part that I have. When if I know somebody is struggling, and that would be like if we only had sober living to offer them, if they only reached out to, because we do the death investigation. We don't do a criminal investigation here. We do the death investigation. And so we do all the background and everything. Sometimes, yeah, they're very tragic stories that you hear that and it's like, if only someone knew, if only we would reach out. And so I think that's what we have to do is we have to take the stigma away because before anybody with a substance abuse, they were a bad person, right? They were scourged. Exactly. Yeah, a moral failure. We have to get rid of all that stigma and make it safe for people to come forward and say, "Hey, I need help. I am struggling." And that's, I think, going to be one of our, we're getting there a little bit. And, I hate to say might take a generation or two, but we now have the suicide and the crisis phone number. Do you know what that is? What is it?
Let's hear it all together, folks.
988. Okay, yeah. So before we didn't even have that. Well, now in high schools on students' IDs, they have that number printed on the ID. I mean, how wonderful that is, So, in fact, I've got some suicide. If you have a prominent place to put it, I've got some suicide or in the crisis. Not just suicide, it's also for crisis too. That's important to know. So if somebody is struggling with mental health or substance use, this is a number that we can call and reach out. So I think the biggest part is letting people know, let's, put the stigma, we're all people and substance use, depression, suicide, it doesn't matter. They don't care. Mental health doesn't care who you voted for, what neighborhood you grew up in. Were you rich? Were you poor? Who your parents were. It just crosses all barriers, all languages, and that's what we have to, So that's the hard part that I have are the preventable deaths, thinking that if we could only reach out to people,
It's a great question, though, Matilda.
So,
Very good question
yeah,
and great
thank you.
answer. Any other questions in person or online? Either or.
So there was about 77 last year. Yeah. Yeah. And that was in 24.
Which is
So-
a pretty big drop off. I think it was what, 200 something before that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's incredible. So part of it may be the pandemic because there people were, like I said, even with my nephew, he couldn't go to a meeting in person or anything. So part of that could have been from that. And then also how much is Narcan,
That was what I was
it's-
gonna say too. Like, in the work in earnest really started before COVID with the Narcan push, but it really started about 2020, 2021 when the boxes started going in. And I wouldn't say we're at a saturation point, but I bet like in the next couple of years we may in certain geographic areas, which is it's still a great thing. This stuff should be free, easy to access, all that good
Right.
stuff.
When I was growing up, you could go into a restaurant and in the lobby, some of my cohorts would know, there were vending machines for cigarettes, right?
Oh yeah.
You can put money in, get cigarettes, and nobody looked to see who was putting money in. It could be a kid that their mom
Yeah.
got them a few bucks for, right? Now we've got Narcan machines. How wonderful is that? That's fantastic. I mean, that's what we need to have.
I do have a
So-
hand up. Magdalena, you have a question?
I do. I have a question for the coroner. I know
Please.
that with kratom, it's a little bit harder to test the body for kratom. I know that it disintegrates after a certain amount of time. Do you have a protocol or procedure in regards to testing for kratom, or is there a specific test that you use for kratom to see if there's any kratom in the body?
So kratom, I don't mean to speak for you.
No, go
I
ahead.
don't think kratom in and of itself causes death. I don't think. I wish Blake were here. I think he gave us the stat one time. Like kratom itself, just solo, like rarely if ever kills. It's usually kratom like sets off a pre-existing heart condition, or kratom is in a polypharma situation where it was like part of 10 different other drugs in the system. I know, at least on our side, right, that kratom is like a specialty test. So you usually have to send out. I assume it's the same thing here if you're looking for kratom, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to say kind of no, because it is really fast metabolizing as well. When we have like a carbon monoxide, we suspect a carbon monoxide poisoning, we will take that blood and we go to the ER and we process that stat.
Yeah.
So, but generally by the time we even do autopsies, that's not even
Yeah.
it's not even on people's radar.
And the one that's and forgive me just for taking a minute to
No, please
talk
do.
about this, but the 7.0 problem is still pretty bad. In fact, it's gotten a little bit worse. And again, that's being marketed and sold as an all-natural kratom product. It is not that. It is a synthetic that is very, very dangerous. It does not kill, but it will exacerbate pre-existing conditions. And also because of the way that 7.0 works in the brain, it has a kindling effect where a physical dependence happens quicker than with other substances. It's almost like tailor-made to get you to get addicted to it. And it's very tough to stop. And ERs are just now figuring out how to get a handle on it, because you're not only having an opioid-like physical withdrawal, it's almost has like tricyclic antidepressant effects on the brain too. So imagine going off your antidepressant and your pain med at the same time. Probably make you act and feel pretty terrible. And that's what a lot of these kids are finding out when they stop taking this stuff.
Yeah. And, we know that there can be a drug and they change one molecule.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's the part they change one molecule and our blood tests don't pick it up. And that's why I said that's one that we suspected, and there was a little blip, but without having that actual drug to test. So, that's, we want, if there are drugs like that in the scene, we want those so we can test the drugs as well. If we'll keep it in evidence, and then if it shows up negative, okay, what is this drug?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. We got maybe time for like another question or comment. Anybody else for our wonderful host and DuPage County Coroner Judith Lukas? Yes, Mark Matthews. Let's make sure we get.
No, I just wanted to thank the coroner. I think in this business that we're in, we're surrounded by tragedy. We're surrounded by pain and suffering. I mean, that's part of our business. I lost my father 11 years ago. The coroner in the Los Angeles Department Coroner's Office did not have the compassion you showed today. And so it means a lot, because I think we have to keep a certain level of professionalism to really, as you asked earlier, to keep themselves sane in spite of this stuff, but also that empathy and that lived experience thing. We learn to harness that. That's sometimes our motivator to do that. And so it's really, really, really appreciate your vulnerability. Because again, when I find myself in that position, or a family member or a friend, I'm grateful to know that someone like you is taking care of that at the end. So thank you.
I appreciate it. And, I have to say that I have a phenomenal staff that works here. I don't have 1 weak link. Every single deputy coroner, my chief deputy, my forensic pathologist, my admin assistants, the autopsy tech, everyone is so caring, and it doesn't matter how many years they've been in their job. I have people that were, a couple of my senior deputies were hired back in the 90s, and they are so compassionate with the family, and they take every single death as if it's the first one, because we know it's the family's first one. So I couldn't do this without my staff. So, yeah.
Well, let's give her one more round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
And we also have for you, and I'll have Annette hand it to you because I can't get up, but it is our Serenity House 40th anniversary commemorative coin that we're giving to all our hosts this year.
Wow.
Thank you again.
Well, thank you.
This has been such a great setup. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Well, then I'm going to tell you, I was going to say this afterwards. There's all stones. I've got hearts, a pocket heart, like the size of a penny.
I love it.
So I want you to grab one for yourself, grab one for your friend, because you guys are the heart of this.
Thank you, Judy.
So when you're having a tough day, just grab your heart and just kind of like, instead of a worry stone, it's your little heart. And like I said, grab some for a friend or two.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for sharing your personal stories. It's been great. And let's do this every year. We're happy to come back every year to do this.
Wonderful.
So
thank
you again.
Thanks.
All right, folks. Well, what an amazing conversation. I originally had carved out a little bit more time to maybe go over some of these survey results, but I want to do that with more time. So I think what I'll do, because those survey results are not going anywhere, I will probably bump them to next month when I believe we're at Stonecatchers Counseling in Downers Grove. But still, I'm going to take that time to go over the results. And yeah, we'll do that. With the next 3 minutes, though, who would like to promote their program, upcoming events, or if you need assistance or support on any meeting? What do we got? What do we got? You can either come off mute, or you can raise your hand here, or you can just yell. Up to you. Mark Matthew. Here he comes, folks. Yeah.
Your neck of the woods, but a big shout out to Annette and the Kane County.
Yeah. Woo!
ROSC meeting next week, but on the 25th of February, we're having our second annual Health and Healing. It's a panel discussion, interactive Q&A, and a resource fair. It was very well attended last year. It's at the center of Elgin. That's right there in the downtown area. Again, lots of tabling going on there. Organizations offering mental health services. We will have our rapid HIV outreach and testing ban on premises.
It was really great experience to not only connect with people, so we can talk a little bit about mental health and substance use and management. So with the flyer, I will also send it to our amazing.
Hey, and that is 2025 Lived Experience Award winner Mark Matthews, everybody. 2 times. All right. About 2 minutes. Anybody else online like to promote anything? I will say real quick, we have started to go out into Aurora on Sundays to support the unhoused outreach outside of Hesed House. We set up across the street next to the dog park. That's a real thing. We're next to a dog park, and we have clothes, we have food. If you know somebody in Aurora who's maybe struggling a little bit, could use some maybe some warm handoffs, some referrals of service, come see us outside of Hesed House on Sundays. Anybody else?
Hey, Jared, I put in the chat, one of our students has got support from COD to start a CRSS alumni network.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Once we
She
get
had
more
talked to you about it, so you know who I'm talking about.
I would love to. Let's connect, and then we can get them on here to talk about it at some point. And I did see you had a question. The information about, hang on one second. I just saw it. It was a question about what, Bruce? Oh, the video. Yeah. So the video with the sober living, those are currently on the health department Facebook page, but also, yes, they're there to circulate. I can include it in an email out to everybody.
Thank you.
Watch that space because there'll be a release every week, right? Price is right, Mike.
Sorry about that. If anyone would like to, I can add you to the email list. I'm going to send one because those are going to be going out every week for about 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. I have an email list that I'm going to be sending the links to those each day that they come out. So send me an email and I can add you to that list. So you'll get an email whenever a new one is posted.
I can collect that for you too if you need it. And again, the ask is that people share that because the only way we reduce stigma is by sharing and sharing our own experiences. And thank you again to all of the wonderful people that took part in that campaign because it's going to make a huge difference. So next month we'll be back on tour in Downers Grove. And then I think we're actually booked out through the summer. And then in Kane, we're booked out a few months in advance too, right?
Yes.
So a lot of stuff, fun stuff, exciting stuff this year as we are on the Eternal Tour. But yeah, we'll see you at the next one. Thanks again for the coroners. One more round of applause. Such great hosts.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, look for the recording up in a couple days, and we'll see you at the next one, guys.
For coming.